I graduated with a degree in management, and this is one thing that always came up as like one of the most important things you have to do as a manager, as a leader, is empower your employees. But it's very, very important, because I mean the old adage, two heads are better than one. I mean that it's so true. If you have a leader, if you as a leader of people pretend to have all the answers, you're limiting the potential output of the organization, and you're limiting your employees.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today we look at empowerment, specifically how to empower your employees to innovate. Well, if you have any kind of business where you want to innovate, do something new, push the boundaries, then you know that you can't drive all of those ideas. You've got to empower the people around you. And so today we look at empowering your employees to innovate. Our special guest is the founder of Astrawatt Solar. They were one of the fastest growing companies on the Inc. list, number 363 this year. You might know them by their former name, which is Rising Sun Solar. But I share with you the conversation we had with Keith, because he really does share some insights around empowering your people. Some of the things that we aren't doing very well, which is one of them is saying the phrase, I don't know. He talks about what that is. We look at how that's a strength, not a weakness. And if you really want your team to innovate, push the boundaries, then you want to make sure they feel empowered and are safe to do these conversations. That's what we unpack today in the episode with Keith. Before we get into it, if you are on the journey to be a stronger company, build a stronger foundation, maybe even grow faster, likely you're facing some challenges, whether it be leadership, culture, or people, that is getting in the way. And I want to help you figure out exactly what that is. Most people don't know it. If you don't know what's getting in the way, then it's likely you, because you've got to be very aware that some things just come back to you as the leader of this company and the decisions that you've made and how you've operated. And so I want to help you figure out what's getting in the way of you growing your company, whether it be strategy, whether it be leadership or mindset, or even something else that you just can't put your finger on. The way we do that is through a conversation. There's not a one size fits all. There's just not a way for me to address everyone's issues through content that we create. So what I am offering to you as you're listening to this is a chance to sit down with me and talk about your business. Just go to genehammett.com and schedule a call. Now, inside that conversation, we'll unpack what's getting in the way, what you're really trying to create, and create a plan for you to move forward. You will be able to do that completely without me. And in case you want some help and support, we'll talk about that in another call. So the first call truly is about you growing beyond where you are today as a leader and in growing and empowering your team. So that's the common theme across all of the work I do. Just go to genehammett.com and schedule a call. Now, here's the interview with Keith. Keith, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. We're in a great conversation about empowering your team. Before we get there, tell us about your company, Astrawatt Solar.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. At Astrawatt Solar, we're a solar panel installation company, but we're a little more than that. We're actually a franchisor. So over the last year or so, we've been working on our FDD, which was our franchise disclosure document that was just completed. We're registered in most states right now to franchise our business, and we're really excited about it. We should be the first solar company to focus on the franchise model and go national with it.
Well, it's an exciting time. I think a lot of people are starting to look at solar as a realistic option. Where do you see the next 2 or 3 years for solar going?
Yeah, well, I've been in this industry about a decade now. I started my own business almost exactly 6 years ago now, and a lot has changed, but also not a whole lot has changed as well. What I mean by that is the technology is fundamentally the same. The products that we sell have gotten a little better, but the biggest thing that I see changing over the next 2 to 3 years are probably a lot of small things that the average person wouldn't know about. There's a big side of the business that is structured in a way to where there's either like an install side of the business or a sales side of the business. So there are companies that just do sales, and there are companies that just do installs. And from the beginning, we've focused on being vertically integrated. So we do both. We do marketing, sales, and install. And I think the companies that we see that are really kind of break through are those companies that handle everything from start to finish. And that's a big part of why we believe our franchise model is going to be successful.
Okay, we came here to not talk about solar specifically, but to talk about empowerment. You've had to innovate across your company. So how do you empower employees to innovate?
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely important. I mean, I graduated with a degree in management, and this is one thing that always came up as like one of the most important things you have to do as a manager, as a leader, is empower your employees. But it's very, very important, because I mean, the old adage, two heads are better than one. I mean, that it's so true. If you have a leader, if you as a leader of people pretend to have all the answers, you're limiting the potential output of the organization, and you're limiting your employees. I personally love saying, I don't know, right? As a leader, like, I don't know, what do you think? And then listening. That approach is so different from, this is what we're doing, and there's no other possible way to do it, and I'm a leader, so what I say goes. At the end of the day, you can still disagree with what an employee has to say, obviously, and you can still push your idea, as the road that we're taking. But empowering your employees to have and share those ideas are going to more often than not lead to something that's better than you could have done on your own.
I want to go back to that one thing you're talking about. I don't know. I think leaders got a little bit more used to saying that through this whole COVID thing and the pandemic, because we were all thrust into a place of how do we deal with things that we never even thought about as possibilities. But what you're talking about is, in general, you're okay with telling an employee if they've got a problem or if they've got something that they're trying to address, I don't know how to fix it. Is that what I'm hearing you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I can do some things pretty well. There are a few things I can probably do very well, but there are far more things that I don't do very well, right? So knowing myself and knowing what I'm good at, and also knowing my employees and what they're good at, is really gonna allow you to empower them to help steer the ship most effectively in the right direction.
I think a lot of people, leaders, think the words "I don't know" is a sign of weakness. Have you ever wrestled with that at all?
No, not at all. Personally, no. I mean,
short answer.
Look,
no.
I mean, I guess it can be seen as a sign of weakness if you're unsure of yourself, right, or the direction you're going. Like, if you really truly just if it becomes a consistent problem where you don't know, I guess that's probably a problem. But if you're really pushing yourself and your employees and your organization to do great things and to innovate, you're not going to have all the answers. So saying I don't know opens the door for one of your employees to figure that out, to come to the table with an idea. And I think that's a great thing.
Now, Keith just talked about saying I don't know, and many people see it as a weakness. Now, I want you to think about this. What if it's a strength? What if you having the courage to say, I don't know, to your team, especially if you're trying to innovate, is to be able to get them to think about how to move forward, get them to how to address the challenges. And in fact, one of the things I would share with you is what I would call the 3-3-1 framework that will empower your people. And this is a very simple tool that you can use, and you can jot it down. It's 3 questions. It's 3 options and then 1 decision. The 3 questions are, what is the real problem? Second question is, what's causing this problem? The third question is, what is the impact to the organization, whether it be customers, whether it be something else, financial? And when you have a good understanding of those questions, then you ask your employee, give me 3 options that we could do here to move forward with this and address this issue. And so if they are challenged with coming up with those options, and then finally, if you listen to it, you say, if it were you making the decision, what is the one decision you'd make? What would you choose? because you want them to get in the habit of being able to really identify the problem, really understand the options in front of them, and to make decisions. You can always coach them through the decisions if they're not able to do it, or if it doesn't match what you think they should do. But you can also, if they are coming up with the right solution, say, great, go with it, because then they'll have a deeper sense of ownership for what the decisions they've made versus the one you've made. Think about that for a moment. Now back to the interview with Keith. I could probably talk about you all day long about this. I don't know, but if we really got to the brass tacks of empowering your people, what are some of the things you've learned in this journey of building a fast growth solar company?
Yeah, well, I think in the beginning, I really wasn't focused on growing this business fast. We talked a little bit about this offline, but I started this business because I saw a better way to do things, and a lot of it comes down to the sales process. I started this I cut my teeth in sales about a decade ago in this business. So I saw an opportunity to do things better, and that was our focus. And that's still our mission today, is to create better solar experiences. So, for me, it wasn't about fast growth in the beginning. We didn't grow fast in the beginning, but we built a very, very strong foundation. And, when it came to to the point where we started growing fast, is because we created the flywheel effect, right? If you've ever read the book Good to Great, talks a lot about the flywheel effect, and it's so true. If you focus on doing things right and creating value, it's going to start slow, but eventually you catch momentum and things start to move in your direction. And we grew organically, although it was extremely fast. It was organic growth for us because we had such a strong foundation. Everyone knew what they were doing and why we're doing it. And that more than anything helped us really get to the next level.
I absolutely love this part of it, but I want to go back to the same question though. How are you empowering your organization? What would we see inside your meetings or conversations that has worked the best to empower your people?
Yeah, it starts at the top. I mean, if you don't have the vision as a leader, I mean, that's your responsibility as a leader, is to have that vision, right? And your other responsibility as a leader is to make sure you have the right people on the team to steer the ship in the right direction to achieve whatever goal aligns with your vision. So, I'm very upfront, and I tell everyone, if you're not comfortable with change, you're probably not going to be comfortable working for this company. So, I empower my people by constantly asking them, how do we do this better? How do we save money here? How do we improve the customer experience here? And if you live and die by that, by committing yourself to even just small improvements, employees get it. And at the end of the day, most improvements that employees have or ideas they have to make something better is ultimately, they're focused on their job. So it's going to make their job easier. It's going to improve the customer's experience, and it's going to ideally make the job more efficient. If it's making their job easier, we're going to save money, and they're going to be able to get more done in the same amount of time.
Like Keith just talked about, how do we do this better? Now, in fact, I did this with my team today. I had a chance to do a one-on-one conversation with someone on my team that'd been around for about 6 months. And we just had a moment where I said, hey, I know that you're doing a really good job with these parts of your work. I'm just kind of curious, where do you think we could do it better? Where can we do the podcast better? Where can we improve the process of actually doing it so it's quicker, or even getting better downloads? And I want them to think about that. And so I'm going to give them a week to do it. And so here's what I would suggest to you is to have regular conversations with your people, not just on where we are today and what's going on, what's the status, what's the milestone, what's the metrics. I want you to step back and say, how could we improve this process? How do we make it better? And get them thinking about different ways to make it better. Don't let them off the hook. Hold them accountable to the things that they're coming up with. It really is important if you believe in making things better. I do, and I share with you what I'm doing with my own team, and I share it with you to help you be a better leader and delegate more effectively. If you want to innovate, you want to ask the question, how could we do it better? And give them space to answer that. Back to Keith. When you look at where your team members have grown. You've got about 60 in people. You're now moving into this franchise model, and this is a growth area. No one's going to doubt that, because I think we have a huge opportunity in solar to do a lot more than we're doing. And when you think about the business, what did you have to let go of as a leader to get to where you are?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I've never really been the type to need to hold on to everything. Yeah, I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at. So for me, from the very beginning, it's been I have this direction I want to take the company. I kind of know what I can do and what my limitations are. I need to find the right person who's better than me at this thing. Find that person and get them to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and allow them to take the reins and put forth targets that are aggressive, but enable them to come up with strategies and ideas. And not all of them are going to be good, but the ones that are good will stick. And then it's about implementing those things, right? Like, yes, we have a good idea. This thing that we're working on could be cool, but now we have to implement it, and now we have to do it. So I guess to answer your question, you have to find people that are better than you, and you have to enable them, teach them, coach them, but then let them do their own thing. And more often than not, they're going to come up with ways to do it better than you were doing it in the first place.
You had mentioned too about ideas. I think it's pretty dangerous for any company to go into this and the founder of the company is still actively involved with every idea that's being explored inside of companies. And we also know that as founders, if we say the idea first, typically people latch onto it. They don't necessarily tell us that they're bad ideas. We wish they would sometimes, but how do you make sure that you create a culture where the best ideas win?
Well, I mean, that's funny. As soon as you said that, I laughed, because every time I come up with an idea, people will immediately tell me how bad it is. So I don't know if that's me having bad ideas or just my employees being so comfortable and knowing who I am. But yeah, I mean, look, that's to me about culture, right? Like if you have employees that are afraid to share ideas or possibly work on a side project without feeling comfortable then sharing it, you probably don't have a very good culture, right? I mean, but how do you create that culture, I guess, is the follow-up question to that. I mean, that all stems back to your why as a business. Like, why are we in business? What's our mission? And if your mission doesn't speak to the fact to innovating or doing things better or doing certain things, then your employees may not know that they're able to do this, right? So I guess it all starts from the why or the mission of the business and the culture that you have.
One of the questions I like to ask is really about your own journey of leadership. Could you tell us about a defining moment that really helped you change the way you lead today?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to fit along well with your theme. It's sports related. So my dad was my little league baseball coach as a kid, which was super cool to me. I mean, I look up to my dad. Most people, also look up to their coaches. So I got to see my dad kind of from both angles, as a dad and as a coach. And it was really cool to see that. But there was one specific evening I can remember. It was before a playoff game, little league playoff game. It was a do or die thing. If we lost the game, we were out. And we were going up against the best team in the league. So my dad actually asked for my help to set the lineup for that game. Who's going to play what position, who's going to be in, who's going to bat first, second, third, et cetera, down the line, which is extremely important, especially in Little League. I mean, there's a huge gap between who's actually good and who do you put in right field, right? Where there's they're never going to get any action. So I went to work and I put all our star players in the best spots to win. and all this. And I presented it to my dad, and he was, it's just like, no, that's not how we do things. The entire year we put every kid in every position, everyone played every game, regardless of their skill level. So why are we changing it for this game? So we didn't. We put guys, we had guys pitch that probably shouldn't be pitching, and guys batting first that probably shouldn't be batting at all. But that's what we did. We didn't win the game, but I think the entire year we exceeded expectations. We weren't a very talented team. I had so many guys on that team tell me like it was the most fun they ever had playing the game. And ultimately the team was better because everyone got a spot, everyone got a shot in the star positions that they normally wouldn't have had the opportunity to do. And that always stuck with me. And especially now that we're talking about empowerment, I actually didn't piece the two together until I thought about this moment. There's a big reason why I've put so much value on empowering my employees, because people are going to have more fun. People are going to get a chance to do things they normally wouldn't get the chance to do outside of their normal everyday tasks, and ultimately the entire company benefits from it.
I want to get really specific here, and we don't have that much time, but as we wrap up, how is this lesson and defining moment in leadership you shared about Little League and your dad related to how you lead today?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I just touched on, the empowering aspect of it, giving everyone the opportunity to have their voice heard, and making sure everyone understands, what we're doing, and this is who we are, and we don't deviate from this. And, employees buying into that, you're going to get more out of your employees. You're going to have a good culture. Everyone's going to be committed to making those small improvements every single day, which ultimately are going to lead to much bigger improvements over time. So I think, the fundamental aspect of what I learned from that moment definitely helped me with regards to my views of empowering employees.
Well, Keith, thank you for being here on the show, sharing your wisdom.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
So in this spot, I'd like to reflect back on what you heard today. We've been talking about how do you empower employees to innovate? Now, if you expect innovation, it's got to be part of the culture. It's got to be a place where people are willing to be courageous and fail. And you also have to be willing to be a strong leader. I think that all innovation comes from your ability to empower people to think differently than they are today. And what Keith's been talking about is some of the principles that he's used and leveraged to empower his employees about ideas and about just getting things done differently and improving things. And this is a constant thing that I think a lot of people lose sight of. There's so much focus on hitting the numbers and getting things done that they're not really talking about how do we get it done better than we did last year, last quarter. It really is important for you to have those conversations and don't miss out that opportunity. Now, my job is to help you to become an extraordinary leader, help your team members lead with more clarity. And if you have any questions about what it is getting in the way of your own growth or leadership, make sure you check out free content at genehammett.com. If you want to schedule a call, we can chat about what's going on in your business. I can help you with some insights. After I've done hundreds of these, I know that I can help you grow your business too. When you think about growth, anything about leadership, think about Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.